Hey there! Today we are diving into the top 10 countries moving the most cargo by air. I've already set up the data in my spreadsheet, so let's jump right in. First, I head over to Google to gather inspiration on air cargo. Since this infographic revolves around air transportation, or rather cargo, I want to get a visual sense of what that looks like. Things like cartons, tarmacs, and of course airplanes. So I'll grab a few reference images and add them to my inspiration layer in Adobe Illustrator. So I use Adobe Illustrator for most of my designs. It's where I transform ordinary charts into unique and easy to understand visuals. Now, switching over to Pinterest, I refine my search terms to airline cargo to get more specific ideas. So I use different search terms while I am going through this process. My goal is always to present the data in a way that's visually intuitive and also engaging. To solidify my concept, I revisit an infographic I created back in 2023 about seaport trade, where I use containers to represent the data. Since we're dealing with air cargo this time, I think carton seems like the logical choice for this. The next challenge is figuring out how to arrange them. You see, unlike the seaport infographic where containers were simply stacked, I need a fresh approach. I like the idea of placing the cartons on a tarmac with an airplane incorporated into the scene. So since I'll be working with boxes, a tree map chart makes the most sense for structuring the data. And one of my favorite resources for exploring chart types is dataviewsproject.com. It's an amazing tool that helps me quickly determine the best data visualization for any data set. In my last tutorial, I skipped this step because the layout popped into my head instantly. But this time, I want to show you how I build a rough outline. I start with basic shapes to map out where elements will go, like the title, the cargo boxes, and the airplane. Those are like the three basic elements for this in my head, but I'm going to lay it out. Most of my inspiration images feature 3D boxes, so I'll recreate that look by going to Effects, 3D and Materials, then Extrude and Bevel in Illustrator. At this stage, precision isn't important. It's really just a rough draft, so I can get a feel for the composition and maybe make changes if I feel something doesn't fit or it doesn't feel right. After duplicating multiple boxes and sketching out the rough plane, I realize the header placement doesn't feel right, so I'll shift it below the airplane for a better balance. So this is what a rough outline helps me do. It really helps me see where I want to put things, how I want to experiment with things. Just makes everything quick to move around as opposed to moving the actual work when I'm done with it. Now that I'm happy with the layout, with the rough layout, it's time to set up my workspace. I always start by creating guides because they ensure everything is properly aligned and it doesn't feel cramped within the design. Like the relationship between the edges and the elements don't feel cramped. So next, I create the background, and since I haven't finalized my color palette, I'll use neutral shades as placeholders and adjust later as I design. With the background set, I'll put a placeholder for the headline and subtitle according to the placement on my rough outline. This is where the layout starts taking shape, where I gradually bring the layout to life as I use the outline as my guide. In my previous tutorial, I was able to create a chart within Adobe Illustrator as it was a simple column chart and use that to make my matchstick infographic to represent burnout. I'll add a link so you can check it out if that's something you'd like to see. But for the purpose of this tutorial, where I'm presenting data with a tree map chart, I'll be using a tool called rawgraphs.io. It's an absolutely beautiful, free and simple tool to visualize data. I copy and paste my data directly in the tool and look through the different charts the web app has to offer until I find what I'm looking for. What I love most is RawGraph allows you to customize the chart how you want it before you download it if that's something you want to do on the app. But I prefer to download in SVG, which is Scalable Vector Graphics, and because it makes it super convenient to edit in Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to bring in a copy as I have to be careful so I know which box belongs to which country. I'll clean this up a bit and remove the extra bits that come with being an SVG file. Taking a glimpse at my rough outline, I think I am on track. Now I just need to figure out which view I want for the 3D boxes. So there's a couple here and I think isometric left view fits. So I'll spend a couple of minutes working on the other boxes as well. I eventually settled on off-axis front view as I think that matches even better with the pictures on my inspiration layer. So I'll use the next couple of minutes to try and figure out how to arrange it all and make sense of it. So far, this is not looking bad at all. I like how the boxes have come together. And I think the next step for me is to search for vectors I can use. The next step is to find the right vectors. I actually plan to create my own cartons to represent that is representing data, but I also want to see how those cartons look like. And so I get some from FreePic. At this point, FreePic is my trusted sidekick whenever I need additional assets. It's an amazing resource you can use to get pre-made vector assets that you can use into your design. It's a true life-saving, time-saving resource. So I looked through a couple of cartons. I test different box styles and airplane angles. I just download a lot so that I can experiment with until I find the perfect combination. So with my graphics from FreePic, I'm going to test different box styles and also airplane angles to see how I can combine it into to make up like a perfect combination, especially of views and of style, of angles, because the smallest details really can make a big difference in how cohesive an infographic feels. So now I have different cartons to use as a foundation in creating my own, so I'll bring them in and see how they compare. Also for the plane, I'm going to explore different views and placement options until I find the one that I think fits. So I decided on this plane, and I need to be sure the view is right based on my inspiration pictures. And looking at it, I think it fits perfectly. So now I'm going to figure out what colors I want to use and play around with some elements while using the pictures in my inspiration layer as my guiding light. I find that this process really helps me to maintain focus and also gives me ideas around how I can put everything together in a way that is cohesive. I want to do something with the background, and I've discovered stuck because I'm not sure how to represent the tarmac, because like this is a plane and the cargo cartons are on the floor, so I need to make a tarmac as the background, but I am stuck. So whenever I am stuck, I go back to Google and I look at real life image layouts for reference. So in this case, I'm looking at tarmac layout. So this helps me to refine the design in a way that makes it look natural. I go back to Illustrator with my newfound knowledge to attack the tarmac once again. With the tarmac set, I shift my focus back to the cartons. I duplicate the US carton and tweak the colors to match real cardboard tones. I'll copy and paste the box in the same position to create the tape for the carton. Once that's done, I need to figure out how to make this 3D, right? Because that's the main goal here. We are trying to create a carton for the data. I have my 3D and materials window open and I extrude it to add depth. And I'll set a specific figure for this. I think 400 works for now. After that, I'll do the same for the tape to make sure it aligns properly with the main carton. Once the tape on the side is done, I'll move on to the tape on top of the box and give it the same effects but change the view because we are not going to have the same view as the front of the box. As it is, the box looks very basic, like really basic. What I'll do is give it some properties to make it actually look like a carton. So I'm going to check out the 3D materials and I will go with the cardboard. So the color has changed a bit and I'll reset it to what I originally put as the color for the carton. What I'm going to do next is move around a few settings, tweaking different properties in the 3D and materials panel to see what works best. The goal is to make this look as realistic as possible, so I'll adjust the object properties, experiment with materials, and change the lighting to get the look that I'm aiming for. Looking at the design so far, I'm really happy with how the cartons turned out. Initially, I considered coloring each carton based on its country's flag, but I don't think it works well, so I decided to just focus on this. I realized that the neutral tones of the carton keeps the focus on data rather than distracting from it. So for the heading, I wanted something bold and rugged, almost like those stop signs you see written on roads. So I chose this font, VTKS Worker. That was the font I used for the heading. And to soften the impact of the white line behind the header, I reduced the opacity and also applied an overlay blend mode to it. So I also add a few short blurbs in Space Grotesque font as well, with insights about the cargo data to really enhance the storytelling aspect of the infographic. So I am a big believer in trying out all the fonts that are outside the usual ones that we designers like to use. Still in the spirit of making the infographic easy to grasp at first glance, I'll add 3D flags onto each carton, making them look like they are printed on the boxes. So I'll also do the same for the labels and data values, making sure everything is readable and everything is still visually appealing. I'll just spend a couple of minutes fine-tuning everything, the carton placement, the airplane's position, the background details, just making sure it all comes together, and I'm really happy with how it looks. Comparing this final version to my rough draft, I love seeing how much the design has evolved. Every little tweak made a difference, and now the infographic is not only polished, but it also tells a compelling story about global air cargo movement. After all I did, I ended up with this version, which when compared to my rough outline doesn't look shoddy at all. I truly love how this came together, how the inspiration pictures influenced this and guided it to the point it almost looks like a picture. Or maybe I'm praising myself too much. Anyway, this has been another video showing you the behind the scenes of how infographics like this are made. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I'll be posting more videos like this. So please feel free to make a request on an infographic topic you'd like me to cover in the comments, and if I can, I'll be very happy to do so. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hope you learned something new today. And if you missed it, you can watch my other tutorial where I use matchsticks to represent burnout. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.